What if the person who changes your life the most is someone you'd never expect? Someone with nothing but hope to give. This is the story of a millionaire's daughter who was trapped in silence and paralysis until a homeless boy made a promise that shattered all odds. Stay with me, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The grand estate stood proudly on the outskirts of the city, its marble pillars and polished floors, a testament to the vast fortune accumulated by Jonathan Harrington, a self-made millionaire who had spent his life climbing the ladder of success. But within the walls of this luxurious mansion, beneath the shimmering chandeliers and priceless artworks, a quiet tragedy was unfolding. Emily, Jonathan's only daughter, lay confined to a wheelchair by the expansive bay window of her bedroom, her gaze distant and hollow. Just over a year ago, a car accident had robbed her of the ability to walk a cruel twist of fate that no amount of money, power, or privilege seemed capable of reversing. The once lively girl, who had filled every room with her laughter and light, now spent her days staring silently out at the world she could no longer explore. Her skin was pale, her eyes often rimmed with tears she refused to shed openly, and the vibrant energy that once defined her had been replaced with a heavy fog of sadness and frustration. Jonathan, a man who had always believed that wealth could solve any problem, found himself powerless in the face of his daughter's suffering. Despite assembling a team of the best doctors, physical therapists and specialists from around the world, Emily's condition showed no signs of improvement. Each new treatment brought a flicker of hope, only to be quickly extinguished by harsh reality. The mansion, filled with every comfort imaginable, felt colder than ever, a gilded cage where Emily's dreams lay shattered. Jonathan's business meetings and relentless pursuit of success now seemed hollow and meaningless, overshadowed by the growing distance between him and his daughter. He tried desperately to bridge that gap, but the invisible wall of despair that surrounded Emily was impenetrable. Night after night he sat by her bedside, holding her hand and whispering promises that he wasn't sure he could keep. Meanwhile, Emily's only solace was the faint sound of the city outside, where life went on obliviously, as if her pain were invisible. One late autumn evening, as the orange and pink hues of the sunset faded behind the city skyline, Jonathan left the hospital after another long day filled with disappointing news. His mind was a whirlwind of helplessness and guilt. On a whim, he took a different route home, through a rundown neighborhood, a place of cracked sidewalks, boarded-up shops and faces worn by hardship. Jonathan usually avoided this part of town, uncomfortable with its rawness and stark contrast to his polished world. But that day, he found himself drawn to a small group gathered near a flickering street lamp. There, sitting quietly on the cold pavement, was a boy no older than 16, wrapped in threadbare clothes, his face smudged with dirt and streaked with tears. Despite his rough appearance, the boy's eyes burned with something unexpected, a fierce determination and a spark of hope that caught Jonathan off guard. As their eyes met, the boy lifted his chin and smiled softly, as if sensing the storm inside Jonathan's heart. His name was Leo, and though he had no home or family to speak of, he carried a wisdom and resilience far beyond his years. Over the next few days, Leo began appearing at the gates of the Harrington estate, never asking for money or pity, but instead offering stories of survival, courage and hope. He spoke of strength that came from within, and the power of belief to move mountains. Jonathan, skeptical yet desperate, reluctantly allowed Leo to spend time with Emily. And as the boy's presence filled the room, something in Emily's eyes began to change, a faint glimmer of light breaking through the shadows that had held her captive for so long. For the first time in months, the walls of silence and despair around Emily started to crumble, all because of the promise made by a homeless boy who believed that miracles could happen. Leo's visits soon became a daily ritual, something Emily began to anticipate with a cautious hope she hadn't felt in months. The boy's presence brought warmth and life into the cold mansion, breaking through the heavy silence that had settled like a permanent fog. At first, Emily's responses were minimal, a slight twitch of a finger, a faint glance, but Leo never pushed. Instead, he shared stories of his own struggles living on the streets, of battles fought without a safety net, and of the small victories that kept him moving forward. He carried with him a battered notebook, filled with drawings, poems, and notes of encouragement, and he patiently read them aloud to Emily, his voice soft but unwavering. "Healing isn't just about the body," Leo would say gently. "It's about finding the fire inside you, the hope that refuses to die." Jonathan watched from a distance, torn between disbelief and a growing sense of gratitude. He had never imagined that a homeless boy, with nothing but hope in his heart, could reach his daughter in ways that money and medicine had failed to do. Gradually, Leo began to guide Emily through simple exercises, moving a finger, stretching a limb, breathing deeply, small steps that built a bridge back to her body. But more importantly, he rebuilt her spirit, reminding her daily that she was more than her paralysis. Emily began to talk more, at first in whispers, and then in full sentences, sharing dreams she had long buried under the weight of her condition. The laughter that once filled the mansion tentatively returned, fragile but genuine. With Leo's encouragement, Emily's progress accelerated. She started to sit upright without support, then to wiggle her toes, and eventually to flex her knees. Her doctors, initially skeptical, were astonished by the unexpected improvements, calling it a medical mystery. But Jonathan knew the truth that the real miracle was Leo's promise and the belief it inspired. Through friendship, patience, and unwavering faith, a homeless boy had reignited the spark of life in his daughter's heart. The mansion no longer felt like a prison, but a place of hope and healing. And when, months later, Emily took her first unsteady steps, Leo was there beside her, both of them laughing through tears. In that moment, the millionaire and the homeless boy shared a profound understanding. Sometimes the greatest riches come not from wealth, but from the simple, powerful gift of hope.